And I'm spent. Woo!
Do you smoke after sex?
I don't know, baby. I never looked.
Austin! What should we do now?
Well, I've got an idea. Why don't we shag?
Again?
Sure, baby. We're only up to chapter 11 in the Kama Sutra. Don't you want to try the wheelbarrow, or the praying donkey, or the Chinese shag swing?
I'm gonna get us some more champagne, Jungle Boy. I'm gonna get us some more champagne, Jungle Boy.
Are you okay?
I've never felt better, Austin.
All right, then.
Do you expect me to talk?
Hello, we are back. Welcome to episode 209 of Do You Expect Us to Talk? I'm Becca, and as always joined by my groovy co-hosts Chris and Dave.
I think she wants us to say hello there, but she's out of practice with the format. So
I guess all I'll say is, hey, Spy Academy, it's my favourite movie.
Isn't it amazing how my computer room looks in no way like Southern California?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, this is probably one. I think the first one probably has to be the best one out of purity, but this one has the best gags.
Yeah, it's definitely the funniest, I think. And in terms of celebrity cameos as well, there's so many.
There are. What's the film we're covering?
Tonight it is Groovy Baby, Autin Powers MoJo, starring Mike Myers, Ad Infinitum, Heather Gratham, Michael York, Robert Wagner, Seth Green, Rob Lowe, Ben Troyer, Liz Hurley, and many more cameos, including Tom Cruise. With original score by George Clinton,
That's
written
next
by
week,
Mike
Becca.
Myers. Yeah, I know, it's not weird. I know. Coming soon. Yeah.
Who knew Tom Cruise comes early?
Directed by Jay Roach and released 1999.
Yeah, 1999. This came out the summer of The Phantom Menace, The Matrix. I think Gladiator may have been the following year. But certainly there was the marketing budget for this one was on a massively different scale from the first film. They were popping up with adverts riffing on episode 1 with Dr. Evil on what looked like the Death Star in a reveal. TV spots absolutely everywhere. There was a lot of hype around this film. Definitely,
Yeah, because it's following the success of the first film, because that had a lengthy home release as well. So,
and a lot of it was home release. What's I think difficult to understand now are that we're coming back into an era with streaming where box office won't tell you everything. But there's definitely been a spell in the last 10 years where if you want to see what prompted a sequel, you have to look at the box office. But there was a spell in the late 90s and early 2000s where it might do pretty well in cinemas, and then the home release just pushes it over the edge. The first film did around the 70 million mark. This did 312.
Yeah, that was a big jump, wasn't it? That was a massive jump.
Well, when you think the original Matrix film took in the 400s, that tells you how successful this was.
Also, the landscape has changed in that short space of time as well. In terms of consuming films and things like that as well, it's sort of completely different.
Well, home release is more of a major moneymaker for films anyway than the box office. I mean, the box office is kind of like an advert for the home release, essentially. So with films,
now, but obviously we're moving back to streaming now, where
going back the other way.
It's kind of it's kind of a bit weird because whenever films flopped, quote unquote, or for whatever reasons, or if they generally did flop, it would still kind of make its money back anyway, because there'll always be a market for home release, always pick up some repeat viewings, and also probably revenue from being on television and things like that. It still generates money, so it is kind of a bit weird when you think, it's a flop. Well, or this film flopped, but it's still a huge revenue.
Yes, it still brings in the cash.
Yeah.
It made really, really good money anyway, and I think we lose track of not only inflation, but also actually ticket price inflation, which isn't always the same thing. You know, I was going in on a student rate in the late 90s and paying like 170. You know what I mean?
That's ridiculous, isn't it? That is ridiculous.
I remember the days it was like £3, £4 for a cinema ticket.
Exactly.
Yeah, same.
So this is the worldwide. This is the 10th highest grossing film of 1999.
Yeah.
Now, some of those on the worldwide release, things like American Beauty, actually their release ran into 2000 and so on. But I mean, it's big money. It's only 2 places below the Bond film for that year.
I was going to say, yeah, surely Bond must be top of that list.
Bond is 8th on the list. The highest grossing film of 1999, unsurprisingly, is The Phantom Menace.
Of course.
The second highest grossing film of the year, this is worldwide gross, was The Sixth Sense.
Oh, I forgot about that.
For the type of film it is actually an unbelievable gross, because in 1999 money, it took 672 million.
It was all about that twist ending.
Yeah, because so many people paid to see it twice. Toy Story 2 was 3rd, The Matrix was 4th. And then it sort of drops away in terms of films that have lasted, in that the animated Tarzan is next.
Oh.
The Mummy, the Rachel Weisz, Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, that was a huge hit as well. That
was.
And then you've got Notting Hill, which is a surprise, because I always thought that things like that, and although they've got a profile abroad, I always thought they were driven by their UK grosses, that and Four Weddings and stuff, but no, that took 363 million.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, I'm trying to see who won.
Rundown top 10, 1999.
Yeah, it was a strange year at the Oscars, because you've got Russell Crowe failed to win this year and won the following year for Gladiator. And I honestly think of all the films in Russell Crowe's career, he should have won for The Insider.
Oh, gosh, yeah. No, that was good.
Just because he was 35 playing 53, and playing 83 is different. But playing 53, the difference in your sort of physicality is so much more subtle. And yet he was convincingly a man in his 50s. And it's a really, really subtle performance. So, yeah, Best Actress was Hilary Swank. Best Actor was Kevin Spacey. Whatever happened to Kevin Spacey?
I don't know.
God knows.
I always thought he'd be playing good Leghorn.
He would have been a great Foghorn Leghorn.
His career went down the drain.
Yeah, so this was a hugely well-performing film.
Yeah, 99 was always be a bit of a sentimental year for me, because it's the year where I did my GCSEs.
Oh, right.
So kind of like, obviously I finished school earlier.
Yeah.
I actually finished school.
I always sit with a brandy and remember that geography GCSE paper I scraped to pass on.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I couldn't remember at all what was in any of my papers, or so if I'd set now, I'd be clueless.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't do them now.
What the fuck's a Peru?
I do remember, like, in the early 2000s, our A-level papers being somewhat controversial, because there was some problem with the with the awarding body, and they suddenly decided that all our answers would be void, and we were like, no, we're not putting up with this shit. So it was a bit controversial. But yeah, I can't remember any of, like, my GCSE papers. Dear. Yeah, I did mine the following year in 2000. So.
But it's also a good year for movies as well, because like
Bond.
Yeah.
That's all my memory of 1999 is.
Well, you know,
I still think
Matrix.
If you think on the commercial end of things, you've got The Matrix, which is a landmark film.
Yeah, I do remember. I think we went on a field trip, and our teacher kind of took us out one evening to the cinema, sort of thing, and we were like, Matrix. So I think that was kind of like we were snuck in to go and see it.
Well, so you got The Matrix. I would think Toy Story is still in the argument for best Pixar film. But at the slightly more sort of commercial art house end, obviously you've got American Beauty, which we mentioned, but you've also got Magnolia this year.
Oh yes.
I'm pretty sure Being John Malkovich was this year. So there were. It is one of those years people
Phantom Menace,
back
which was
on.
just like huge.
It was like the big behemoth, wasn't it?
Yeah, Run Lola Run was this year. Quite a small film, but I love it.
Oh, was it? I thought it was like mid-90s for some reason. I don't know why.
And at the very art house end, you've obviously got South Park, Bigger, Longer and Uncut.
Which is the best film. Film
obviously
ever.
Blair Witch Project was this year.
Yeah.
Eyes Wide Shut, Stanley
Even like
Kubrick's
smaller
last film.
films, like 10 Things I Hate About You.
Of course.
Which
Oh yeah,
is-
Shakespeare adaptation.
Yeah, which I remember was like a late summer film,
But the producer could be a bit of a sleeper hit.
but it's
almost.
actually really enjoyable. I had quite a lot of rewatch, but it's actually quite decent. I think I've not seen it for a while, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
Shakespeare
obviously-
remake.
Yeah,
Iron
starring a young
Giant
Keith Ledger.
this year. The Thomas Crown Affair, the remake with
Yeah.
Brosnan, which I still hold as stronger than the original. Not as
No,
sexy as the
I would
original,
agree.
but stronger.
I'd agree.
That was the director. What's it?
John McTiernan.
John McTiernan.
John
Yeah,
McTiernan did the Thomas Crown Affair.
he had 2 films out at the same time. One with one with Antonio Banderas, which didn't do anything, but that came out at the same time as Thomas Crown Affair. which
Oh,
is
the
really-
13th Warrior you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry, we're sort of disappearing into some nostalgia here. Not necessarily even films you go and see, but you
Welcome
just
to the
remember
Films
them
of
being
1999
out.
podcast.
Fight Club, of course.
Fight Club was this
Fight
year.
Club, yeah, that was
How can I
iconic.
forget Fight Club? That's quite an iconic film. It's not my favorite of that filmmaker's stuff, but I do somewhat like it. Three Kings was this year, the David O. Russell film.
That was a good film. Yeah, I remember that.
Entrapment, which was a hit at the time.
Yeah, that's where
That's gone on to a bit of a more of a cult following, hasn't it?
that's where Catherine Zeta-Jones gave an old man a bed bath or something.
Bless him.
Yeah, being John Malkovich, I've already mentioned. We are just sort of looking down these at the moment. Now, The Bone Collector, The Insider was a terrific film.
Bone Collector.
Like-
See, that made it
like-
into TV series.
Like in my opinion, most Michael Mann films a little bit too long, but pretty good.
Bit of a mixed bag.
American Pie as well.
Dogma. Oh, American Pie. Yeah, well, you
Gosh.
very art house.
Less said about that, the better.
I didn't mind American Pie. It was funny. I don't know how well it would play now, but
Yeah, so
Well,
it's probably one of those films that you couldn't really make now.
The reunion one was awful.
Yeah, that was pretty cringe.
The
But
wedding
it's one of those films, like, if you're a
okay.
teenager in that era, like, you had to go and see, like, I got dragged to go and see it with all my mates.
The second one where he glued his hand to his dick and his other hand to a videotape was funny.
Yeah.
That was funny. The Green Mile was this year. Girl Interrupted. That was the film that really broke Angelina Jolie. She was somewhat known, but she took an Oscar for that one.
Yeah.
Bowfinger, with Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy's both of their last funny films, really.
Yeah, that was kind of before that.
Talented Mr. Ripley was this year.
That's a very good
Deep-
film.
Deep
I
Blue
think that's
Sea?
probably one of the best of the Ripley films.
Deep Blue Sea. I thought that was the following year, but no, you're right.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can't remember that one.
Yeah. So
Sleepy
looking
Hollow
back,
as well.
looking back through it, most of these are not that great, but it just reminds me. I was
Sleepy
back
Hollow is quite good though. I tend to, even though it's, you know, Johnny Depp gothic horror.
At least we not forget Wild Wild West.
Oh gosh, giant spider, avoid.
which he turned down The Matrix to do.
Thank God.
Well,
And we're
well
sure
done
forever
there.
grateful.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Yes, thanks for listening to the 1999 podcast.
well, there's a little bit of nostalgia there. I mean, I can't say it stands out over a lot of other years for me, actually. But when you go back through it, it puts me back to a different sort of time in my life.
It does, well, it's good to look back.
Not
Maybe
a time I
we could
missed
start a
particularly,
spin-off
but
where
time
we
that
pick a
I enjoyed
decade.
a lot of at the time.
And plus,
So-
it was, it was the millennium as well, 1999, 2000. It was very often like a pivotal time for a lot of people.
Yeah, and you always come across films you've forgotten existed, like Ed TV and stuff like that.
Oh gosh, or like a lot of the films that you mentioned. For some reason, I thought I remember them being a lot late, but a lot earlier, sort of like
Yeah.
mid to late 90s for some reason. So, but often gives you kind of pause to think, oh, there's some films that you should go back and revisit.
And at the
Obviously,
cult end of things, Office Space was this year.
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that is a real cult, isn't it? It's one of those films I perceive it to be. It's got a cult following. And perhaps like when I studied abroad in America, for example, it was much more popular over there than it is over here, sort of thing. I mean, it's still popular, but it has a lot more. If that's, I know it's a bit of a, sort of contrasting terms, but it seems to have more of a cult following across the pond than it does over here. So
Join us next week.
Dogma was
It
99 as well, wasn't it?
2002. Yeah,
yeah, oh my god,
yeah. It's arguable how many funny films Kevin Smith has done since.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking at 2002 now to tee us up for next week.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
If you have any fond memories of films that came out in 1999, drop us an email.
talk@gmail.com. In the meantime,
Let's get on with it.
Let's do this hybrid reviewmentary.
Go.
Yes.
All right. Let's
press
count
play.
us in. Yeah, let's count us in. I'll do it. All right, so go on the 3. So playing in 1, 2, 3.
Press that button.
Now I'm a bit weird with this film because obviously this came out at the time where DVD extras were a thing, and it was the first film that I actually watched DVD extras and had tons of deleted scenes. And it was almost like, which I would later go and watch This is Spinal Tap and the delete stuff, and This is Spinal Tap is just like, it's almost like an extra part of the movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it really is.
So it's kind of odd because I tend to say a bunch of quotes and it actually just not in the film.
Wasn't in the film.
It's like, because I found deleted stuff actually that funny. So I don't know if anyone else has actually ever watched the bonus stuff or the
I'm not
deleted
sure
scenes.
if I did or not. I didn't get a
But it's
DVD
worthwhile
player
I've got a DVD.
till late 2001. I'm trying to think what the first DVD... I think the first DVD I ever bought might well have been Evil Dead 2. And we were like, look at the resolution. There's no like fuzz over their picture or anything.
Now you look back at it and think, what the hell?
Basically, a clear picture with no like crap on it was like amazing.
See, those kids, who for Blu-ray is the norm. Spare a thought for us kids who grew up with VHS and they transitioned to DVD. You are
You
spoiled.
kids with your roller skates and Sony Walkmans, you don't know you're born.
Don't know you're born.
Can you imagine going back though? Imagine waking up and you're in like the 90s again. You're like, fucking hell.
I'd be bored fucking stiff.
Oh god.
That's why I don't get all this good old days bollocks. I mean,
That
if
would
I'm
kind of be
that
like the
bored,
worst thing
I
and the
can
best
watch
and the best thing.
almost any sports event that's ever happened. I can watch almost any film that's had any kind of release anywhere. I can listen to any song that's ever been made, read any book that's in an electronic format or audio format. It's like, I do get bored occasionally, but it's really, really rare. And when I think back to like my childhood, there were times, particularly if the weather was bad or something, where I just literally had no idea what to do.
So,
Hey, Liz Hurley, back when she looked exactly the same as she does now.
She looks the same.
Austin
She
Powers
hasn't
Kama
aged.
Sutra.
one of my memories of watching this film was it's one of those times in the cinema where you're just creasing out laughing. You know that time you're laughing so hard
Yeah.
that you're actually not making any sound. It's like
You're just crying.
yeah, and this film just had me as soon as like sort of the Star
Yeah.
Wars sort of piss take.
Yeah. Although, controversially, the best first sort of 10 minutes is the third film. It's not the best film, but I love the first 10 minutes. Also, might be less than that, more like 3 or 4 minutes. In Like Flint, my favourite movie. That just
I've never
sounds like
seen-
porn, doesn't it?
I've never seen any of those.
No, nor have I.
No.
I just assumed it was porn because it looked like they were in a gym or something.
Yeah, I
that
did
I've
go
ever-
see
not,
like
not that I've
Flint
not that I've
movies.
ever seen porn set in a gym. Well, no. Anyway,
Off topic, I've not seen them at Helm movies either. As if we're talking
no,
about
I haven't seen the
spin-off.
Helm films. Only the bits that were recreated in and used in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But I mean, Dean Martin wasn't a particularly young man when he was making them, so I don't think they were particularly action-packed. How did I miss those, baby?
Can you imagine Bond movies did this for all the bonkers from the previous film?
What? Just killed them off like.
They turned out to be fembots.
too. By film 24, can you imagine that? Fembot again? Yeah, we knew.
Another film. You just don't get it, do you?
I'm kind of half expecting it next time round with No Time to Die.
Yeah, Leia Seydoux. How does he get rid of her? Turns out she was a fembot.
She was Spectre all along.
Yeah, or her father was actually a Morphy Richards.
Yeah, baby.
I mean, I don't know how in demand Hurley was at this point, but to get her back just to do this tiny bit was quite good. I can't imagine they shot it the first
She
time.
might have been contractually obliged.
Yeah, it's possible, I suppose.
I don't know. It strikes me as like, because it must have been a bit. Must also be an element of like, inviting her around just to kind of kill her off. Must be a bit of a, what, really?
Yeah, it's not something everybody wants to do. Is
So
it?
she must like sort of have a bit of sense of humour about it.
I'm just wondering, like, do you reckon now, this bit now where he's like naked the whole time,
I think that's really clever.
do you think he actually was or had some sort of covering? Now I'm wondering how much cock
Well,
the editor had to cut out.
mean, we'll say like
Probably has to wear some pants or something.
This is one of my girlfriend's favourite movies. Hey, I can't help but say movie, but as a movie, hey, it's my favourite movie. And
you can't say it properly.
And she was thinking, I think he was naked, or she heard that he actually was. Now I think he must have had something tucked in. It's like at least something. I think he was practically, but you know,
he was practically.
You just think the whole
his package must have been tied up somehow.
Just, I mean, maybe I'm putting it through sort of a 2021 lens, but I'm just thinking about the contractual and legal issues of forcing people to work on this set, and suddenly he's walking around with his dick swinging about all day. You know,
well, people are happy about, you know.
He's got a tattoo, Rob Lowe, on his ass. Look.
Yeah, it's bright blue. I think I'm a little bit ahead of you. Do you want me to pause?
There's the two hams behind him, and Elizabeth Hurley's name's just come up.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm a little bit ahead, but never mind, it's fine.
Sorry, they're about to crack the box and cut the bread. Yeah. Again, it depends what version of the film.
I just noticed the sign says Casino Royale. That's the first time I've actually noticed that.
Well, they're at the sort of table with the Jewish guys who were cutting the meat now.
Is that a euphemism?
Are they Jewish or Amish? I don't know.
Oh, I'm at the swimming pool.
Casino Royale. I'm at that now. Music by George S. Clinton.
Yeah, I think I'm at the same stage as you, Chris.
Okay, well you can.
I just find it amazing that Demi Moore produced this film.
Yeah,
I wonder how much she actually did.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, he's just landing in the water. You're just going to have to divine it from things I'm saying, to be honest, and pause it now and again, because I'm commenting.
It's fine.
I'm at this bit, and I'm at this bit. It's
okay.
I mean, this is a solid opening, though, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah. And I just think, like, particularly when you were filming the first one, it must go into the back of his head, like, is this going to look really daft and not funny, you know?
Mm.
But no, it's really solid. It just... I'll sound really old manish saying this, but the speed time goes by. This is just not that long ago, really.
It does.
Awful lot has happened in the meantime, I've no doubt, but...
Jerry Springer.
Gosh, remember him?
Jerry Springer.
Oh my god.
Now this is very of its time.
It very much is, isn't it?
I'm not at Jerry Springer yet. I'm looking at Kraplakistan, and the guy who was in NYPD Blue and other things is going around TV things, and I'm assuming he's about to turn to Jerry Springer. No. Yep. There we go. I don't know. The first few times I saw Jerry Springer, because it used to be on during the day, you know, and I was a student, I wasn't doing anything else. I was very... I couldn't believe what I was watching, because we'd not seen anything like it. So it was kind of really Moorish the first few times you saw it, and then you just thought, this is kind of awful, really.
Mm.
You are really exploiting people who should not be on TV doing this sort of stuff.
I wonder, like, had we not had, like, Jerry Springer, would we not have had, like, the likes of Jeremy Kyle, we have over here, for example?
Yeah, almost certainly not, because this is the birth of all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And there was not even a pretense at trying to help them. I mean, it's just as exploitative in its way, but like Maury Povich used to be showed as well, and at least there was a veneer of a defence there for what they were doing. But
yeah, I mean, there's some chat shows worse than ever. This is probably like
embarrassing them with all their public information, and then like letting them fight as much as they can legally get away with.
He sort of claimed to kind of do like the hard hitting issues, didn't he? Like he did all the like lie detector tests and things like that as well.
At some point,
compared to like Maury and like Sally Jesse Raphael going back to the 80s and 90s, and Ricky Lake and people like that, for example. But I think Jerry Springer's show really had the reputation for kind of being more edgy, should we say?
Yeah.
But with the fights and arguments and nonsense generally.
Yeah,
I like that Diet Coke of Evil quote there. That's so funny. I did quote that a lot with my friends.
Jerry Springer is probably one of the signs of the decay of civilization, isn't it? Really.
Pretty much.
I understand the argument of the people have got the choice to go on there and all the rest of it, but at some point, he was a smart guy. He used to be a congressman or a senator or something like that. And I just think, like, it's likely he's smarter than most of the people that appear on his show, and at some point you've got to take some responsibility for what you're doing. And I felt the same about Jeremy Kyle as well. It was just grandstanding about his fucking morality in front of people.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, though, it's like half the time, I just think that the people he has on are hamming it up as well. Like I struggle to believe.
Of course, there's certainly a degree of fakery in it, and I suspect as years went on, that percentage grew. But certainly fairly early on, where it was less well known, and they could sell it as a show where, yes, you're playing to people's worst instincts because you're saying you can have your 15 minutes of fame, but they are still selling it on a degree of we can help you.
Yeah.
As years go by, that probably got very distorted.
Yeah, I suppose at least Jimmy Carr had the, oh well, we're gonna send you with someone who can help you get through whatever issue or kind of thing, or counselling, or offer some sort of help. Where Springer didn't even have that. It was just like,
have a fight and good night, everyone, and then take care of yourself and each other.
Yeah.
What? Yes, we knew all along, sadly.
Yes, we knew all along. She was a
probably that's one of my favourite gags.
Yeah, so funny.
You're scheduled for a photo shoot
with her from Third Rock.
And
Rebecca, it is. Yeah, I was gonna say 'cause she was really popular at the time because she was in that show.
Isn't Rebecca Romaine in this one?
Yeah, she's in the same scene. You'll get there shortly.
Yeah, I will. I'll get there quite quickly. Believe me.
Yeah, I love Third Rock from the Sun. That was such a great show. So funny.
Never saw it, honestly.
Oh, check it out. It's got like before they were famous. People in it. It's so funny. It's a bit of a strange concept, but a bit kind of zany, kooky humour as well. So might not have appealed to everybody.
Kristen Johnson. She just looks Amazonian. She probably isn't. She's probably 5'6" or something, but she just looks. Ivana Humberland.
I think she's quite clever though, because she played on, like, obviously she's, quite tall and, being like an Amazon woman, and she kind of, I think that's why she was so successful, because she played on that a lot as well, and the roles that she did. So
I'm just actually going to see if I can find out what height she is. About 6 foot. So she's tall, but not like freakishly tall. Taller than the average lady.
Yeah. But she's very, very funny, very good, comedic actress for sure.
And this is just further proof that Starbucks is evil.
So we didn't need that before. Now we know. This is true.
They tried to tell us all this time.
Back in 1999.
It is funny, though, how many people, not so much now because it's more sort of ingrained in society, but certainly in the UK, if you go back like 10 years, you'd talk to our parents' generation and stuff like that, and they would complain not only about the price of Starbucks, but how it's putting like local coffee shops out of business. But then the next comment would be, when did you last buy a coffee anywhere?
Well, this is it.
I'm sorry, it hasn't just distorted a market, it's created one.
Oh yeah, before before Starbucks, did anyone actually go out and? I suppose over here it was like more like Greasy Spoon cafes, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think the first probably Starbucks I had was when I was abroad in America. So.
And I do hanker back
thing that
to
makes
the day
me
when we were all out eating greasy animal fats.
Yes, it's something that's kind of taken off, in sort of recent memory, isn't it? Sort of like cafe culture.
Couldn't they have compromised and done a bacon and sausage latte?
I'm sure they will do. Somewhere in the world they do it, I'm sure.
With fried bread. With fried bread biscotti.
Fried bread drippings.
The thing that gets me about this is like they do say, well, great tasting coffee at affordable prices. I'm like, really? Like, it costs like four or five fucking quid to get like a fucking drink.
There's no doubt Starbucks are at least sort of double, if not 2.5 times the price of whatever you would have got from a local place before.
Yeah.
But like, it's been the case for about 10 years, so that's the price of a coffee now. I don't really give it a lot of thought. The world's never going to stay exactly the fucking same, is it?
No.
It's going to change.
Hey, Belgium. You grew up in Belgium, that gets covered in the third film as well.
Again, a lot of these jokes are very much of 90s, aren't they? Very much of their time. So you kind of have to look at it like that, really. You kind of have to view it through that lens.
Mini-me. The late Vern Troyer.
Dear, oh dear. There's a lot of off-colour jokes. I totally forgot about the series as well. There's a lot of jokes that you couldn't. Not even
drop that
like
cat
Mariah's
when he
could do
puts
today.
it down. Sorry,
Yeah.
Becca, I just cut you off.
No, that's okay. No, he did just drop it. It wasn't very nice.
I haven't seen that yet. He's just walking around the table to get into his seat. There you go. He's just sort of raised himself up to the right height. Come, Mr. Bigglesworth. Which one's distraught? Vern Troyer's or?
He just looked a bit like. "Arr."
He just sort of like just dropped it because he doesn't have like.
No,
isn't
but
able
hopefully
to put
they're
it-
okay.
Oh, yeah, cat always lands on his feet anyway.
It's always a bit worrying when you see animals in film, isn't it? I mean, it's like that scene, like in Union twice, for example, where like Bond meets Blofeld, and like you see he's stroking the cat, and he's trying to get out of, he's trying to make his escape.
Yeah. He is
and the cat's
not.
like, "Arr."
Yeah, that cat did not like vibe with Donald Pleasance.
No, but in
Whereas
the
if
next
you go and watch The Godfather, like there was
he's
a
fine.
cat on the set that Brando picked up, and he was sat stroking it. This cat looked like the happiest fucking cat in the world.
He loves it. Just give him some catnip.
Yeah.
Be alright.
She's spraying water at him now or whatever, so that's where I am. Mojo. This is the plot of the film.
Zip it.
The libido, the life force, the essence, the right stuff.
Zip it good. And it's quite progressive as well, with Rafa Bissina having a partner. So
I don't know if I would call that progressive, seeing as she's the biggest stereotype of a pair of lesbians you can imagine.
I mean that ironically.
Yeah, but that's just set up for a joke of like, I'll never love another man. Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yes, that's true.
I mean,
You
yeah,
have to really spell it out.
If you want a real life experience, they should have been two absolute stunners. No, mind.
Dear.
Why make trillions when we could make
Millions.
billions?
Just as easy, Aussie.
Honestly, though, the Doctor Evil scenes go on too long. Every single
They are a bit.
time.
They do drag it on a little bit.
Well,
This is quite funny though.
I think the reasoning for here though is because like I think Doctor Evil's probably a bit more popular, so they kind of like, well, that's more popular. Let's have a bit more Doctor Evil in the next film.
Yeah, they beefed him up probably.
Yeah. And then they went for a plot in the third one of hero and villain being like, a shared childhood. Imagine doing that.
Oh god, I'm just gonna cringe my way through that film.
And then Bond just goes up, copies it.
That's gonna be really weird.
Well, what I loved about the Bond series copying it is they saw like things like Autin Powers and Die Another Day, and I think they were both equally harmful along with Born to the Bond series. So the Bond series went, we've got to go grittier, right? Which they did. They still kept more jokes in than people give them credit for. I still think Casino Royale's a solidly quite funny Bond film in places. But it's almost like they left it long enough to forget the third Autin Powers film. Like 13 years later, they're going, what if they're related? And it's like, and the very thing that forced your rethink in the first place, you've forgotten. Like, oh shit!
No, I mean it was just fucking laziness, really.
It really was.
Because you hear like Sam Mendes, he was like, well, talking about, well, it was a bit obvious. It's like, well, you had to have something. No, you didn't. If you felt you had to have something, because it was a shit idea to begin with.
Yeah.
What I loved about it is where he goes, he said after Skyfall, he said, to be honest, I don't think I'll do another one because I've got no further ideas. I've done everything I ever wanted to do with a Bond film. Then they coax him back and prove he was absolutely spot on. And then, what is it, 4 years later, 5 years later, 4 years
and
later.
his excuse was like, well, I kind of felt bad because, I've set up the world and, it's unfair to kind of, what I mean? It's like, it's just a lame excuse.
Yeah. But his next film was 1917, which I thought was magnificent.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic film.
And I may not be the biggest Skyfall fan, but I do absolutely accept it as one of the Bond films. I just do, because it's high on so many people's lists, and it's also pretty unique as a Bond film. There isn't much else like it. It is well shot. It does have a great Bond in it. I have no problem with people putting Skyfall quite high up a list. He made his mark, and that's fine.
It did capture a zeitgeist for whatever reason.
It really did.
Yeah. And it will have been many, many, many years since a Bond film did it to that degree. I don't think it's as good as Casino Royale, but my God, it captured the mood way more.
I just wished it didn't fucking celebrate itself every fucking 5 seconds, but anyway.
Yeah.
Or go the full hog. When he opens that door and the DB5's there, just have a wank while Judy just looks slightly uncomfortably on.
Wait,
Right,
watches.
finish now,
So
love.
dodgy.
Just watching.
Just, yeah. One secret
Lovely.
agent. I'm just watching.
So dodge.
No, this is a play on
This is the Thomas
Thomas
Crown
Crown
Affair, the original one.
Yeah.
We mentioned the remake. For those of you listening who don't know, and there'll be a few now as time goes on, the original Thomas Crown Affair was a Faye Dunaway, Steve McQueen film. And was it Norman Jewison who made it? I can't remember now.
I think that sounds about right.
And it's good. It's really good. It's a more straightforward bank robbery than the plot of the remake. And whilst I think the remake is probably the better film, the chess scene in that, I've just been distracted tremendously by that. Hang on. But the chess scene in that film was like actually really well done, and this is taking the piss out of it hilariously. Imagine doing this if you were playing like Gary Kasparov or something.
I love his reaction where he's just been told like how completely desirable he is. He's like, yeah, there it is, yeah.
Let me ask you a question. That's where I'm up to.
Yeah.
And be honest. Now,
Be honest, baby.
Do I make you ready?
Myself and my friend just quoted this film all the way through. Oh my god, it was just so hilarious.
the problem is they do sort of become victims of their own success, don't they? In that, like, I was fucking sick of people who... I've quoted funny films, and it's for others to decide whether I'm ever funny or not. But I like to think occasionally I might make some people laugh or whatever.
Yeah.
But I often find people who really, really excessively quote these films, it's almost like a substitute for a sense of humour.
It just sort of wears thin after a while, doesn't
And
it?
all they've got is quotes. And it was just fucking constant with this
Yeah.
film. But
did
it
kind of get
kind
everywhere,
of ran
didn't it?
off the home release of the previous film. So there was about a 5-year period where Autin Powers was being brought up reasonably regularly.
Yeah.
And here we are with Rob Lowe.
He's quite good in this, I
He's a
reckon.
just a perfect young Robert Radner.
The voice.
He
is
really
from-
was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
His ideal casting. Mind you, he hasn't aged much either. He still kind of looks the same.
Yeah, it's a bit like Rosamund Pike. She does look her age, but she looks the same at the same time. There is a difference, but the difference is really subtle.
So I think it's because she's a Bond girl, and obviously Bond girls are forever, so they've got, the special genes. So
Yeah, Bond girls are forever till you see some of them, and then you're like, they're not really, are they?
some age better than others.
Don't think you could do Fat Bastard now.
I don't
No,
know,
that's-
Dave. I think it's quite a fair description of Scottish people.
Yeah, sorry, I was being insensitive.
We just drop all our listeners, sorry.
You've brought me back to a more PC view on it. Yes, you're right, absolutely. Sorry. As Chris pointed out, yes, obviously Scottish people are fat.
Oh, you
So.
bastard.
And have an appetite for babies.
Yes.
Baby.
Cholesterol in Scottish people eat it.
That's Iron Brew.
They must deep fry it.
All joking aside, I don't think you could do Fat Bastard now. I think you could still do the fembots. I still think you can do like a womanizer Bond. I think it's all about context and perspective. And literally, the one joke in this film is he's grotesque because he's so fat. And I'm not sure. I just don't think any kind of name studio would greenlight this now.
No, I think if he was to come back and do like the fourth one, I guess, he'd have to probably drop like 50% of his characters.
But I don't see much else. As I say, the jokes. Austin's a womanizer who did drugs and stuff like that, but I don't think you'd ever have a problem with that. I think it is perspective. You can still have Bond as a womanizer in that. It's the world changes around him, he doesn't. But Fat Bastard is a one joke. And the thing is,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sound all PC in 2021 about it. I have to say I didn't find Fat Bastard funny at the time. And it was no kind of weight insensitivity either. I just didn't think it was a particularly funny joke.
No, a bit one-dimensional character.
Mike Myers has always said that Fat Bastard is kind of like his free chord punk song joke. Like it's very just simple and just like doesn't give a And I think I know what he means by that. It's just like there's not a lot to it. It's like it's loose and free and easy, but that's kind of like the point of it. So I think it's like whether you like it or you don't. Do you know what I mean? It kind of works.
And I am certainly not saying on a personal level, I'm particularly offended by it. But I
No.
recognise that where things are now, it would almost be a brave studio that would say, yeah, no problem at all. I think there'd be a great deal of sensitivity and discussion about how you portray it and the script. And on a personal level, while I'm not offended by it, I wouldn't have cared if you made a film without it, because it's not that funny. Except his his sense of disgust over Heather Graham having sex with that bastard is funny despite itself.
We're just going in the time travel bit now. It's like, yes.
Oh, this is the whole joke about just don't worry, viewers. Yeah.
I like he just sort of time travels back into his pad and people just having parties at his apartment.
Yeah, that's all. It's just party time all the time.
Yeah. The only thing I will say, whilst I've liked the sort of modern incarnation of James Bond, he never looks like he's having a lot of fun, does he? You can't imagine like a party at James's place.
He's never there. Home. He's never home enough to have a party. So
Yeah, but yeah,
you have to hire an Airbnb.
That's true, but then that's not. I mean, that's not really the character of Bond, though, is it? I mean,
no, he's never been that carefree. In fact, I think I've always thought the sort of Brosnan Moore interpretation is actually like a kind of misreading or a sort of reinterpretation of the character anyway.
Mm.
They're not close to the literary version. Should it be? I don't know. You know, the films are all of their own, and if you like Roger Moore and Pierce Brosnan, great. You know, I was watching Spy Love Me literally yesterday. But it's not so much for me. For anyone listening who doesn't know, who does follow us because of Bond, and they've just announced the Ian Fleming Foundation that there's a book coming next May for Ian Fleming. Well, it'll be obviously the 60th anniversary of the film series starting, but it'll also be it'll coincide with Ian Fleming's what would have been his 114th birthday, basically. So next May, Anthony Horowitz will be penning a third. Well, he won't be doing it in May. He will be releasing.
We're writing it now to release next May.
His third. So for those of you who've read the Anthony Horowitz books, Trigger Mortis is set just after Goldfinger, the book by Goldfinger. So Pussy Galore is in that book and so on. And then Forever and a Day was about him becoming a 00. And missions that are actually mentioned in the Fleming books, but it you know, the previous 007 dies, and you know the story around that. And so the new one is apparently going to be set after The Man with the Golden Gun, which was the last of the full-length Ian Fleming novels. So he will have done mid-career, start of career, and end of career. And that's coming next year.
Looking forward to that. Should be good.
Trigger Mortis, I thought was all right. I enjoyed it. Forever and a Day, I adored. Thought it was brilliant.
Definitely recommend them. Do check them out if you haven't.
He really, for me, he captures Fleming's voice.
No, he really does.
There's a few continuity errors in certainly Forever and a Day. With when you that should have been picked up, but if someone told you it was a lost Fleming, you would believe them, but think maybe, oh, Fleming's forgotten his own continuity there. But that's it. It's roughly right. It reads like Fleming's descriptions of food and clothing and action and stuff like that. He's really captured it in a way that I didn't think like Sebastian Faulks did.
No, I think with Faulks, you kind of got like the snobbery, like of sort of like classes and the sort of certain things with the cars as well. But I think he's kind of really captured the essence of Fleming. I think you still have to focus on the minutiae of life, kind of like the way he walks, the way he sort of internal monologue to himself, and like the way he dresses, and as you say, the food that he eats and cigarettes that he smokes, for example. And I think that's kind of why Horowitz has proved so popular.
Well, that's actually one of the
with
continuity errors, because Forever in a Day shows you how he ends up smoking the brand he smokes.
Exactly.
And then you get into a later Fleming book and he's been smoking them for like 20 years.
And it's like, hold on, but we all know the continuity timeline's a bit
remember.
wonky anyway.
But having said that, apart from that, it could be an Ian Fleming for me.
Definitely. Would agree.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does next. He set me off on like a reread. I read all of the sort of period Bond films. I've read but I've read all the ones that were in the timeline before that, and they do stand out. They're really good. And he set me off nicely on sort of a reread, because I'd already read most of the Fleming. I've read them all now. But I read Forever and a Day before Casino Royale. I thought I will read them in an order and see how these flow together, and it really did. It really set me off well.
Wait till you get to Dragana, that's when it gets a little bit crazy.
Well, I've read License Renewed, and I'm struggling. I haven't actually finished it yet because it was just I'm not really feeling it.
No, they get a bit crazier. It's very, very 80s.
And it's like he's driving a Saab and smoking silk cart. It's like,
yeah,
fucking hell, man.
It's not the Bond you know.
Well, he said he wanted to behave as though Bond was cryogenically frozen and woken up in the 80s with no reference to the missing time, except he's now in an 80s world. And I'm thinking, you missed. That is not the logical extension of Ian Fleming's James Bond, I don't think.
It's very 80s. Drugs kicking and screaming.
But I may go on and read some more, because it's not fair to definitively say after like 3/4 of one Gardner book. But I have to say, reading all the period ones, funnily enough, I probably liked the majority of Fleming. There's a few I didn't. I like some of the odder ones. I like some of the short stories. I really liked both of the Horowitz ones. I didn't really like Devil May Care, and I didn't particularly love either Solo or Colonel Sun, which a lot of people like.
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed that.
There's a whole kidnapping sequence in Colonel Sun, which is absolutely magnificent, and then the rest of the books I can take or leave. But if I've read, I don't know, 20, 21 of them now, or whatever it might be, I've probably really, really enjoyed about half.
Yeah, there's variable.
There's about 4 or 5 Fleming that are terrific, and then there's another like 2 or 3 that, from my limited rereads of them, were pretty decent, and then there were a handful I didn't like very much. But Horowitz has captured the voice better than anyone since him.
I'm doing a Fleming book group with a bunch of Lady Bond fans. And I think we're just behind the David Zursky group. I wonder if, like, when we finish Fleming, I wonder if we're going to carry on with the other continuation novels. But yeah, we've got a similar mind, really. There's kind of like 4 or 5 which kind of up there, sort of like Moonraker or Majesties, for example. But then I think the next one we're doing is
what did I enjoy? I really liked Casino Royale. I hated Live and Let Die. Now, as much as you might say, it's of its time, my answer to that has always been the same. Fine. Who am I to police, the time or what people want to read? But I found it too much. I couldn't read it. Well, I did read it, but I didn't reread it. I didn't like it. Moonraker, I thought, was outstanding.
A classic, definitely.
Might even be the best of the books. No, it isn't my favourite, but I can see how it would be. Diamonds Are Forever, I didn't like. What came next? From Russia with Love, I adored. That might be my favourite of the books. Dr. Noah didn't like. Goldfinger I liked. A lot of people don't like that book.
I think we liked Dr. Noah.
Liked it. What else did I like? The Spectre trilogy, I quite liked Thunderball. Majesties was absolutely terrific.
Thunderball, we thought it was quite funny how he obviously went on a health kick and then dropped all the habits right away.
Yeah, no, he was even commenting on how much better he felt, and then a few days in, he's like, "Oh, fuck it, I'm gonna."
And then like May gives him a fry up, and he's like, "Oh, this is fine."
This is fine. I really liked Majesties is a really good book, although I prefer the film to, say, From Russia with Love. The books, I think I put them the other way round. I quite like The Spy Who Loved Me. And that's about it, really. I don't think I really enjoyed any of the rest. I like some of the short stories, the Quantum of Solace story, From a View to a Kill.
Yeah, they're quite good. They're okay, I think.
Yeah.
View to a Kill is potentially a bit boring, but
I quite like it. I like the Quantum of Solace story because it's so different.
It's
him being told the story of like an unfaithful wife. Nothing to do with his life at all.
No, it's set apart from everything else.
Yeah.
But I'm keen to reread Spy Who Loved Me because I've not reread it. I remember like the first time I read it, I was just like thrown completely out.
Yeah. I was ready for it though because I knew, and in fact I did the audiobook of that and it was read by Rosamund Pike, so I thought, well, this is clearly not from a male perspective then.
No, yeah, we didn't see Bond until like 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember sort of reading it first time and just being shocked by how different it is.
He turns up to be heroic and do some shagging.
Yes.
Which is pretty powerful.
Yeah, and I look forward to rereading it again with the group to see what they make of it.
That's quite surprising. Don't often see that in a Bond movie.
Isn't it amazing how talking about Ian Fleming is in no way like talking about Austin
There's
Powers?
no way talking about the film.
It's gone gangrenous quite quick, his leg, isn't it?
Well, it has, you know.
Doesn't gangrene take a while to settle in?
Hopefully it'll get better.
Yeah, he doesn't turn up in the third film, does he? Or
No,
Will Ferrell?
he doesn't.
No, I don't think so.
Here we go then, another overlong
I
Doctor.
think by that time, was he perhaps too famous?
No, he'd have been shooting something like Old School around then. In terms of movies, no, not really. He'll have just done Zoolander.
Okay. Yeah, because these were sort of films that kind of introduced, you know, coming off the back of like SNL and those sort of things.
But they do go hyper sort of James Bond stroke Star Trek original series vibe in a lot of these later films. The wall behind him, the sort of hollowed out layer, there's a lot of sets in Star Trek that look a bit like that.
Yeah, it's a stereotypical hollowed out volcano layer.
There's always always like tapes and computers, isn't there? I mean, I don't know if that that was ever a thing. 'Cause I'm no expert on it, but it's always been a thing.
Well, I just think like the Cuban Missile Crisis could have been averted much quicker if someone had had a tape of like best marches, because that really worked well in like Diamonds Are Forever.
Destroyed this mess. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Funny enough, the film and just how it's probably the worst of the Bond films.
Yeah, well, I'm just taking sort of my partner through them all. Trying not to like force my interest on her, but she hasn't seen them all and wanted to, and so watch about one a week, sometimes miss a week, and we're up to The Spy Who Loved Me, which was watched like earlier this week. Diamonds Are Forever. I don't know if it's because I was sat there making various comments, but you can see she wasn't impressed. She really liked From Russia with Love, or she liked From Russia with Love. She did find it a little slow. Loved Goldfinger. Really, really liked Majesties, although she'd seen that before because it's my favourite. Spy Who Loved Me, she just kind of laughed at, and I still can't tell whether she was laughing at it in a good way or a bad. I don't know if she was laughing at it in the same way I laugh at Roger Moore Bond films, as in what the fuck, or whether she was
as in the commentary.
This guy's really funny. Yeah,
I think she was probably laughing next to it.
Tell her she should listen to the commentary and watch it.
Yeah, the commentary was. I don't know that we've ever done a better commentary. From Dusk Till Dawn would give it a run, but not many.
Yeah, I think they're sexy otters.
The sexy otters, yeah.
That'll go down in history.
I think The Spy Who Loved Me. Sometimes you get it's like on Facebook. Occasionally, someone will like or dislike one of your posts, and you just think, well, a lot of the time with not Facebook, YouTube. Sorry, a lot of the time with YouTube, it's people who've just happened across it and don't really know what we are. So I don't care either way. But occasionally, where there are a lot of likes or a lot of dislikes, it doesn't bear any relation to the shows that I think are good or bad. And I think with The Spy Who Loved Me, although I think it's pretty good, I think a lot of my fond memories of doing it was how much we laughed. It wasn't about how funny we thought it would be for everyone. It was about the fact we were killing ourselves for 2 hours. And quite often the shows I'm not that I don't feel that strongly about either way are the ones that people come back and say, "Oh, I really enjoyed that. One of the best shows you've done." You go, "Really?" It was just a show to me. It was okay. The Spy Who Loved Me, though, was probably the commentary we've laughed most at, along with From Dusk Till Dawn, because when I tried to cut a trailer together to From Dusk Till Dawn, I couldn't find clips where we weren't giggling like fucking imbeciles. So I ended up putting a trailer together where we sort of say something, then you can't work out what I'm saying because I'm laughing too hard.
We did laugh too much.
And it's like, that's all I can find, sorry. Let's get it on. Hey, does that imply his penis shoots liquid hot magma?
Probably. It's always something like that, isn't it? Like a train going into a tunnel or
that's
fireworks going off.
Or a rocket being pulled up into position.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is the shit joke.
Yeah, I just skip
Or is that later?
No, it's not. It's
That's later because they haven't collected it
later
yet,
on.
have they? This is where we find he's lost his mojo. Heather Graham's another one who doesn't really change.
She looks the same.
Yeah, she's about 50, 51 now, something like that. Don't look any different, really. She's one that it's not that I think she's a great actress, but she has a reasonable screen presence, and she was very popular after this and Boogie Nights. So I think she's someone where I go, how is she not at least a more, I wouldn't say a bigger star, but like a more ubiquitous screen presence? Why did we not see her in loads more stuff? And she's pretty good at comedy as well, you know?
Also,
yeah, you spells, don't you? There's a time when you kind of, a lot of, these actors, you see them in a lot of things, and then it comes in waves, really, doesn't it? So.
I always think she's the least. I think she's like the least favourite, or like whatever you want to put it, of the girls in the Autin Powers girls. Okay, Bong
doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
No, but she does fit the part of the era she's meant to be from. She does very much look like.
That's why I'm trying.
She does, yes, he sells it.
That's why I'm trying to be quite careful with my wording, because I'm not saying why was she not a massive star. That's the sort of thing I'd say about Linda Fiorentino, who was like really talented and had unbelievable screen presence. I'm not saying she should have been like. I'm not saying she was like the next Meryl Streep or something. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying she did Boogie Nights and was really popular for a role in that. She did this. She's obviously game for a joke. She's willing to do partial nudity. And I'm just surprised that I've only probably seen her in like 3 or 4 things in the 2 decades that have followed. Now, she'll have been in more of that, but I'm talking about things that cut through. I mean, what was she in?
Probably she did Sleep with Harvey Weinstein or whoever else.
It could even be something like that, couldn't it? Linda Fiorentino,
or just unlucky,
stunts me, because Linda Fiorentino did The Last Seduction when she was about 34, and she was in Men in Black, and then I can think of another few things she was in, like Dogma, but she was just unbelievable. If you go and watch The Last Seduction, she's that good that you think, how is this not a absolutely major star? But then you don't know behind the scenes, do you?
What happened with her, though?
To do? B, what are they being asked? Well, I have heard, picking that one example, I have heard Linda Fiorentino can be a bit difficult. But I don't know.
She's not acting anymore, though, is she?
I don't know.
Is she not?
I don't know. She would be in her 60s by now. And that's not to sound ageist. It's just to reflect what we know Hollywood can be like.
Well, it depends. It's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, it's like, obviously an actor or actress decides, they're going to have a family, or they've got other things they need to prioritise.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Burt Beckerick.
Mr. Burt Beckerick. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis Costello. Yeah, some of those things they could choose. Yeah, they didn't want to be in films anymore, or they want to.
Just as an aside, sorry to talk over you, Becca. Well, before he disappears, this is also the same year as Notting Hill came out, and he did She for the soundtrack.
Yes, fun fact.
That was one of the sort of couple of songs that broke out from that film.
As well as Ronan Keating.
Yeah.
You say it best.
His career went to strength as he did the singing voice of Postman Pat.
You seen that film because? No.
I haven't seen that film. I was listening to the Alan Partridge podcast a year or 2 ago when Stephen Mangan, Dan, went on it.
Dan.
And they were asking him about that film, and he said that he thought because he was being hired for a musical, he assumed he was doing the singing voice of Pat as well. And then they were like, do you want to do it? Hoping he would say no. And they were like, well, no, because we've got... And it wasn't Ronan Keating at that stage. It was Gary Barlow. And there was a late change and it became Ronan Keating. So he was talking about that.
Wow, so you literally went from Take That to Boyzone.
Yeah, which is kind of what happened
So if Ronan Keating said no, would they have gone to Brian Harvey?
Would have gone straight to... No, it would have gone to Westlife, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, of course,
well, yeah. Obviously with Ronan, definitely.
That's probably the lineage of 90s and 2000s boy bands in the UK, ladies and gentlemen. Funny, me and Chris have mentioned that to each other when Becca's probably the best placed in terms of age to comment on that.
Take that all the way.
Yeah, I thought like Take That when they sort of came back, they were actually better than they were when
Yeah,
in
when
the
they were
heyday.
popular.
I love the fact that they had absolutely zero change in their fan base either, because basically when they were first around, they were beloved by like 13-year-old girls, and then they came back like
And now
two
13-year-old girls
decades
who are now
later,
mums, they're 13-year-old girls.
and were beloved by 33-year-old girls.
Yeah, exactly. What's wrong with that? Whose teenage daughters were all into it as well, because it was retro.
That's basically what happened.
Yep. Yeah, it's quite funny because we all like obviously good to see them in the various tours when they came back, and we saw like go like, their friends and they're like, oh yeah, our kids into it as well. It's like yes.
And because it's Gary Barlow, you can probably get the tickets cheaper cash in hand.
But no, to be serious, they did put on a really, really good show. So I can definitely vouch for that. But yeah, I'd probably say they're more popular in their comeback than they were when they were popular.
Sales-wise, probably not. Touring-wise, probably, because their fan base will have had more money in their pocket.
Well, exactly. You won't have to buy off their parents. So.
Yeah.
But I think even generally, like, they've actually made better songs per hour.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I don't know if it's me getting older, kind of. I always think about like my younger self going, "What? Take that? Now I'm kind of like unironically listening to like Rule the World and really enjoying it.
I love this. This is a good joke.
Oh God.
Wait a minute, something's itching me. She takes her top down. You don't see anything, sadly. But I love when she says something like, he says, "How's that for you, baby?" And she goes, "Lower." How is that?
How's that for you, baby? I think that's quite funny.
That's it. How does that feel, baby?
How does that feel, baby?
He's scared now. She's gonna want sex, and he's lost his mojo. Can his penis enlarger machine help?
It kind of reverses the plot threads from the first film, because in the first film Austin goes and sleeps with like the enemy,
and he's like, "I shagged her, baby."
Yeah, and here exactly the same thing happens with Austin feeling a bit hurt by it as well. Like,
yeah, and he just wants to be loved for him. Although by the end of the film he wants a threesome with himself, but fair enough.
Technically, it's not cheating. Which is another deleted scene.
I thought it was in the film. Oh
no, there's
deleted scene said.
No, there's deleted scene where like an alternate thing where it kind of cuts to Dr.
Isn't
Evil's
it the
lair.
same scene? Isn't it fundamentally the same scene with some different lines?
Yeah, so you got to like Dr. Evil's lair, and it's actually old number 2 with young number 2, and he's like, "Well, that was yummy." You know what the best part is? Technically, start cheating. A lot's happening for. Oh, that's next week, but.
Yeah. That's the next film, isn't it?
I always love Michael York's just earnest. Hey,
he's brilliant, isn't he? He's
lots happening.
I love the fact he plays it like. And Michael York's a fine actor, so this is not meant as a criticism at all. But he plays the character like it's his first acting job.
He's got that enthusiasm, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's all it is. It's deliberate. It's a deliberate choice. I'm not suggesting it's poor acting or anything.
Madonna, Beautiful Stranger. That was like around all that.
Oh
Song takes me back.
That video was.
Takes me back.
There are still music channels. We've talked about this in another show, but music channels were a lot sort of more of a thing, certainly at home then. I would say.
Yeah, MTV, VH1.
And Beautiful Stranger played constantly.
Yeah.
Takes me back to.
Yeah, it's like the tune of the summer.
She's rubbing her ass in his face while he's trying to drive and stuff like that. And I remember one of my university friends going, "Imagine that!" And I'm going, "Yeah." How graphically do you want me to imagine it now? You're here. He is disgusting, though. Not just because of the weight, but the way they've made him up, and he's all greasy and.
I would never want to eat chicken that looks that pink.
No.
I'll say it looks like it might give you food poisoning.
Yeah, one of these is the Alan Parsons project, and one of them's Preparation H, and I forget which film's which.
Ooh, feisty are we?
Feisty are we?
I'm at the. He's pointing the laser at Washington DC on his little sort of mock-up.
You'll get there in a minute.
We'll catch you up.
Death Star.
It's all in
very
like
topical
inverted
at the time.
commas.
Very topical because the Star Wars film comes out, and when you bear in mind, Episode 6 repeated the whole sort of Death Star thing from Episode 4, and George Lucas had often talked about the things rhyming. So that could have been incredibly pressing. It wouldn't have been a shock if there'd been some kind of Death Star in Episode 1. It would have been something different, but I mean, there was effectively a Death Star in Episode 7, just was called something different. The Alan Parsons project, we've used that on a trailer for one of our episodes in the past.
I think we probably have.
It's one of the Roger Moore Bonds, that was a few years ago.
Excuse me.
Just pointed out, if you were doing these films now, Austin, if at the same time, like, Austin would have to be from, like, 1991 or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of somehow wouldn't work. I don't think.
No. Well, it's like Back to the Future. It's got to point at a specific time, or otherwise you're making a different film. You're making, like, Hot Tub Time Machine or something.
Yeah, it'd be too retro, and I think it's. I don't know. It's.
I mean, Hot Tub Time Machines had its own sort of period specific jokes that some of them worked, some of them didn't. But I mean, we're Back to the Future. We talked about it when we did that series a few years ago. But you had like the sexual revolution happen between the two eras and things like that. 1991 isn't different enough. It is different. I mean, Christ, there was barely any internet back then, but societal mores would only be different in a way that would make 1990s look terrible, because it wouldn't be a loss of innocence. It would be greater intolerance or something like that. It would be really difficult to do.
It'd be technical. It'd be more technical. I'll say that again. Technological advances.
I think so, because that's what they did with Hot Tub Time Machine. He had to go back to 1986, and it's like he wanted to meet up with some girl, and they had to like arrange to meet at a certain time in a certain place, and it's like, well, can't I, email you or something? And it's like, well, I'd have to walk. That's exhausting. Real mixed bag Hot Tub Time Machine, but it has got its moments. It's kind of worth a look. The sequel's garbage. This was a grim joke. I mean, I don't think about things too literally, but this was a grim joke when they burst open the door in a minute. And it's basically where he's had a massive shit.
He's left a floater.
Here we go.
I like that. It's just not a very sort of big tracker then. It's only got like,
Well, it looks like he hasn't really wiped his arse. He's just get up. It's half of it's on the seat, look, at the front. I wonder what that will teach you. We got to get this sample to the lab.
I mean, that's quite a big room for a toilet.
What are they analysing for? When you think about it, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Don't think about it too much.
It's got fat bastard stool sample written on it, so they know how. Hello.
Yes,
so they know.
What do they need to send it to the lab for?
Yeah, what are they trying to find out? It's a bit like The Man with the Golden Gun, where Bond tries to find a fucking bullet when they've already got one.
I think.
Yeah, I don't think about it too much.
Because stool sample doesn't detect like sort of what food he's had, so they could detect like in certain areas like where he's might have been.
What? So
he's eating babies and chicken.
What? I mean, so they'll run the test and they'll go, he's had a little chef. There's one of them in Canning Town.
Kinda. But it's just an excuse for, perhaps drink some shit.
This coffee smells like shit.
It's a bit nussy.
It is shit, Austin. I sort of got that the wrong way round. I thought he'd already tasted it before and said it tasted like shit. No, he said it smells like shit, and he only drinks it once it's confirmed to him it is only.
It's disgusting. Pretty gross.
Oh, good. Not just me.
Yeah, not just me then. This coffee is shit, Austin. I remember seeing that at the cinema, and the whole audience just went, ugh. A bunch of school kids. It was so funny. We went, ugh.
Yeah. I would agree, but I was 22 at the time.
I would have been 16, 19.
Coming up on 17. You'd have been 16 still.
Yeah, I don't know what... Were they all, was it sort of 15s or... I can't remember.
Yeah, I'd have thought so.
It was 12, this.
Was it?
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did I think I was too young? I don't know why, because I seem to remember... I think maybe it was the third one, I don't know.
You
had to be accompanied by an adult.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I would have been sort of 15, 16 sort of thing. Maybe I'm thinking of a different film. I can't
I'm
remember.
not sure.
Maybe they came along for the ride. No, I think it was probably the first film.
It's Tim Robbins as the president.
Yeah, I forgot he was in this film. Oh my gosh.
$100 billion. I don't know if this is the same year he made a film called Arlington Road.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good film.
It's a film that's completely disappeared from public consciousness now. Chris is always not warning me about this, but conversations Chris and I have had over the years. Quite often I'll remember a film that was really good, go to say how good it is, and Chris will be...
No, it was shit.
No, not so much, no, it was shit, but just when did you last see it? Because your perceptions and memories can slightly mislead you.
So. I remember him giving quite a...
But I remember that film being very good.
Quite a vivid performance, shall we say.
It's him and Jeff Bridges.
And he plays kind of somebody who may or may not have planted a bomb somewhere. Or...
Yeah, he just
something along those lines.
The contrivance of the plot is Jeff Bridges' character lectures on anti-terrorism and things like that, and this guy lives on his street and he starts thinking he might be a terrorist.
Yeah, may or not be a terrorist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a high concept type sort of thing.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes, but
he gives a good performance though.
It's quite well done, but I think that was 99.
I think you're right.
Thinking of who I was with and where I was at that time.
That was probably one of the first ones I had on video.
Independence Day is a film I've never vibed with at all. Didn't like it.
Oh, legendary.
Probably good. I don't like... I've gone on not to like anything Roland Emmerich's ever done.
No, he's quite a controversial film. Okay, I remember going to see the long-awaited sequel with my dad because we both loved the first film. And we sort of came out thinking...
It was crap.
I honestly, I just thought the original was dumb as fuck, but it might have been the age I was.
I think it is meant to be. I
was still in the early years of my pretentious phase that should end any day now.
But I think with that film there's a sort of degree of it is meant to be a big dumb action movie.
Yeah, I didn't love it, I have to say.
Oh no. Yeah, it's definitely one of those Marmite type movies. It's similar with other sort of big action blockbusters of the day. You love them or you hate them. Some people are just sort of oh yeah, this the best movie, and it's kind of one of those really iconic sort of action blockbusters of the day. But then sort of people are no, it's load of shit. So.
Yeah,
I think for me I did find it enjoyable.
It is the case and was the case then and is becoming more the case as I get older. Yeah. No criticism of anything anyone chooses to like. If I make fun of it, it's only ever in really good nature. If you grew up, particularly if you grew up, depending on the age you are now as well, that if you grew up with it or something like that and you've got some nostalgia for that film, then fair play. No problem at all. But it's a film I never ever liked. She looks amazing there. She puts Honey Rider to shame. Although he looks...
I think it's a really good... I think that's probably better than Die Another Day. I think that's probably the better.
She's not old in a belly for a start, and also I'm gonna say it. She's more attractive than Ursula Andress.
It's the best Honey Rider emerging from the sea.
Oh, the one in Die Another Day was ridiculous because they even not only was it in a film that was constantly going, hey look, hey look, hey look.
The Casino Royale did it better.
But it was actually a DVD extra.
Yeah, it was
where you could watch her emerging it from the sea in slow motion from multiple angles. It was just the dumbest DVD extra, apart from the one on the very same disc, which was them boasting about the parasailing sequence and how good the CG was. Strangely enough, that isn't on the extras anymore.
No,
because it looks awful.
Enough.
It looks terrible. I would be ashamed.
Why.
I wouldn't be ashamed if that had to go out because there could be any number of reasons for it, like budget, or you've run out of time, or dodgy effects make their way into films. But if you got to the point you're sat in front of a camera, phase 2 camera, boasting about how you did it, it's like, well, that's a major fucking delusion.
Dear, oh dear.
Oh, this is also one of the things that's in deleted stuff. They bring back the penis enlarger bit for this. I always thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity.
Are we talking about this gag with the sort of shadows?
Yeah, because like in
I don't remember the penis enlarger.
No, because it's in deleted stuff. So we like she
no,
pulls
but I've
out.
seen the deleted scenes with the alternate dialogue, which makes me think I must have seen them.
You basically sort of see like the shadow of her pull out the penis enlarger. So you see, what's this? Like, it's not mine. I don't know how it's got there. And like, what on the henchman like watching him, like, I've seen those in Sweden.
Oh, no.
I thought I just thought it's really good. It's a really good throwback gag. I thought.
Yeah.
Should have kept it in.
I love the fact that they've put him in trousers just tight enough for this to work. That it might be his arse move. Richard Gere homage.
Yep. Oh dear. What sort of things can you pull out of your backside?
It's one of those things like Freddie Starr ate my hamster. That's been made up as a headline somewhere, and it's never ever gone away as a rumour.
Somewhere in the sun.
And it'll almost certainly be absolute fucking nonsense, but it's just like...
It's one of those sensationalist news lines, isn't it? Headlines.
Is that rumour about Richard Gere, you know, isn't the fact... Well, not a fact, but isn't it also a rumour that it was started by Stallone and that's why they both hate each other?
I don't know. I didn't know that. I'd not heard that before.
I've heard that, but I don't. But again, it's something
to be
that
honest,
sounds like a rumour itself.
It does depend how graphic I want my Google search history to be. But honestly, first time anyone mentions him, that's almost, if you've heard that rumour, it's the first thing you'll think of. You won't think a pretty woman, an officer, and a gentleman, the cotton club, and is it?
You'll think of that horrible rumour.
It'll be that rumour.
Although I think that time when he appeared on The Simpsons.
Have I seen that episode? I'm not sure.
I think he tries to convert Lisa to Buddhism.
Right. That sounds a blast.
I think Paul McCartney's in it too.
Oh, that was the vegan one, yeah. I saw that.
Yeah, funny enough, when I think of Richard Gere, I just think of blinking. That's due to listening to Cameos all this time.
Well, yeah, he does. He does look down and blink a lot. It was like his version of that sort of Clooney sort of neck tilt.
That was just kind of lip, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. He's not at all a bad actor, actually. And I reviewed the French film Breathless a few months ago, the 1960 or 61 film, whichever one it was, Francois Truffaut.
Oh, the classic.
And he was in a remake of it in the 80s, and Kermode is one of these people that he's always worth listening to, even if you disagree with him, he's worth listening to. But he's got a few hot takes, and one of his hot takes, I think, is that the Breathless remake from the 80s is better. And I have seen the remake and remember thinking it was really good, but it was too long ago for me to say whether I think it's better or not.
I think, to be fair, I think he does say, well, I quite like Richard Gere, so that's probably why. That's probably a large part of the reason why.
Yeah. There are actors like that where I can't always see the appeal. I mean, Richard Gere's not so bad, but I mean, the absolute headline for me is Nick Cage. I know people who genuinely and unironically think Nick Cage is a wonderful, incredible, talented, unique actor, and I think I fucking hate watching him, and I always have. Doesn't mean I've hated everything he's ever been in. That's not true, but I genuinely find him like a fucking horse-faced gimp. I find him unpleasant to watch and listen to. And it's only got worse as his tax problems have got out of hand, and he now does literally anything for money. Again, if you like him, great. We've all got different tastes, and we all react to people in a different way. Can't stick the guy. think he's dreadful.
I think it's just horse, isn't it? Because people just. I think it's not necessarily about even the acting. It's just about personality.
Sometimes it's almost like a visual reaction to seeing somebody, and there's just something about Nick Cage. I don't like his face. It looks like he's been beaten with an iron or something. He's the aftershoot in a Tom and Jerry cartoon,
I'm trying to think about if there's anyone like that I have a reaction to. I can't think of anyone particularly that I just cannot watch and go like, oh my god.
You've named one or two in the past. I forget who you named now. You definitely named somebody.
I mean, I can probably name people like celebrities or actors who I don't particularly like, but it's not like I have a visual like, oh my god, I can't stand you.
Yeah, but with Nick Cage, it's within reason. In that, if a Nick Cage film came out, I've got no anticipation whatever. He would do anything for money. His quality control's always been all over the place. By the way, that includes really good films. But like, if your perception would be in a 10-year period he'd done nothing but dross, but when you actually went through it, you could find some decent films. But I'm now at the stage that I'd have to have someone I trust recommend it. I'd have to have you say to me like, no, it's good. Honestly, he's really quite good in it. Because most of the time he seems to make the bizarrest acting choices as well. It's almost like a more famous Crispin Glover. You know what I mean? Kind of
gets, they reach a certain point in their career where they think, "Oh, screw it! I'm just going to make make the film you want to make."
Some of the faces he pulls, some of the line deliveries he chooses, and I'm just thinking, are you even fucking trying, or are you actually taking the piss? And yet, there's people whose opinion I respect who really like him, so it has to some degree to be me. Although he is getting harder to defend as the years go by because his quality control has just got worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, I sort of think he just kind of got to that point in his career where it's just like you can do what you want. So
yeah.
Or if somebody's having like a questionable phase in their career.
To be honest, I mean, I would genuinely and unironically rather do a Christian Slater marathon.
Oh gosh.
Because Christian Slater's not as in your face, and a lot of the stuff I've said about Christian Slater, there's been a grain of truth in, but I'm like playing it up a bit for a laugh and stuff. I don't really rate him, but I've seen Christian Slater do like comedic turns and be okay. I mean, I actually unironically quite enjoyed Churchill the Hollywood Years. It wasn't all, he's not all bad. Whereas like Nick Cage, I'm struggling to find the performances I like. I mean, there's no doubt it's going back a long time now, but I think he took his Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas, and he was genuinely superb, genuinely. But they're just surrounded in dross. So here we go. What is it, son? I don't know, but it looks like a giant dick. Yeah. Oh look, it's David, whatever he's called, Champ Kind Sports.
Yeah.
Someone's.
I think my favourite is Wang and Johnson.
Yeah. Long smooth shaft, complete with
two balls.
Wang, pay attention. I was distracted by that enormous flying Willie.
Yeah, I think that's got to be my favourite one.
Willie Nelson's another guy who didn't like change visually in years.
He still looks the same. He's got that same signature iconic look.
He's permanently 80. That's
yeah.
He is. He's just permanently like a very cool hippie style.
There's something about Heather Graham's top there that is both erotic and making me ache for a couple of baked potatoes.
Yeah, it's the silver shiny, isn't it?
Yeah.
With a bit of sour cream whacked on top of it.
God. Yeah, you are quoting the greatest of all Bond girls. That's actually quite a deep cut because it wasn't that good a line, but it wasn't like memorably bad. It was just poorly delivered by a not very good actress.
Average.
Yeah, that was when he said about the caviar. Yeah, and she goes with sour cream, and you're like, you just desperately give this woman a line.
I sort of the fact that this guard is just blatantly not listening to the conversation at all. Even though it'd be super like.
I love the fact he goes from super jealous to show him your tits, love.
And I'm sure the floor was moving faster than the scene actually. So he stopped even moving, so they could actually just hang there for ages.
That actually happened in a Bond film though, because in Die Another Day, she's tied to that fucking desk, and the lasers go in it like her head, and it doesn't move in several minutes at all. You see it move a little bit when she's first put there, but that's it. And listeners, if you think you've missed out on anything there, boogie nights. I got a brand new pair of roller skates. Which is a song I can't hear without thinking of I've got a brand new combine harvester. Which is worth looking up to any of our American listeners because it's sung by people with accents from my part of the world. I got a brand new combine harvester. I'll give key.
Did they do covers as well?
I don't know the Wurzels. They're still tour.
Good old Wurzels. They're still going.
Somewhere you will see the Wurzels are playing, and it will be
they
somewhere
always pop
small.
up at like festivals, don't they?
Yeah, they'll probably play Glastonbury every year or something like that.
But
they probably do sort of festivals.
It won't be Glastonbury. It will be the Farts End Folk and Mead Festival.
Broadlands, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's Gypsy Kings.
The moon's quite close to the Earth there.
Yeah, not too far away.
Again, we'd laugh because she just hit herself, but like Grace Jones did that in her Bond film. Most of the silliest bits of this film,
Whoever did it funnier.
The sillier Bond films.
Oh.
I mean, just going back to the Nick Cage thing, just go back a year or two when they released like all those screenshots of him in the Superman get-up, and the amount of film Twitter that went mad with what a lost classic that was, Tim Burton and Nick Cage, Superman.
Imagine, how that would have turned out.
I can't see it.
It would have been fucking garbage.
I mean, I would have enjoyed to see the spectacle, I would have been, but
it's not decent casting under any, the sensibility of Tim Burton's all wrong for it.
It would have been too wacky. Yeah. It would have been.
It's right up there with like Marlon Brando asking if he can play Jor-El as a fucking suitcase. It's just a whole wrong sensibility for it. You never know. Any film could surprise you. I've read about chaos on film sets, and the end result came out pretty well. We'll be talking about that when we get to Bourne, because those films should have been absolutely terrible, and they came out. Certainly, the earlier ones came out really well. But I cannot see. I mean, my sort of mileage with Tim Burton varies anyway, particularly post sort of. Well, when did Tim Burton start going to shit? You know what I mean? Certainly pre that Superman time. I mean, he surprises you now and again because like Big Fish was beautiful, but and I as I say, it just looks like all wrong, and then you see the screenshots of what he would have looked like, and it's like I know it needs lighting, but that looks awful. It's the documentary on it is called The Death of Superman Lives. which is worth looking up if you can see it. And it's all about the sort of attempts to bring that version to the screen and the versions before it. Sort of between Reeve and when you get to like Brandon Routh and all the rest of it. But it focuses very heavily on the aborted version that Tim Burton was going to make, which he got paid in full for. He said they basically did everything but they did everything but shoot the film. So I'm assuming this is meant to be Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah, it'd have to be. Yeah, it'd have to be.
It would have to be, but there's nothing Lyndon Johnson about him.
Well, they always like have some random president in, don't they? Anyway.
Yeah. I love the obvious dialogue. You get that in Bond films as well. Let's find Dr. Evil. Like, can you imagine flying all that way and that hadn't occurred to you?
I think that's why they include it, though. It's that kind of dodgy dialogue that you find in any old movie.
Of course, let's explain the plot. Watch them in order. Although iconically, no, not at all. But in terms of style and some of the mistakes.
Yeah.
I watched The Man with the Golden Gun last week, and that's the one that is really sloppy. Like, Knick-Knack throwing bottles that were already broken because it shook a glass. Him reaching out for good night, she's not there. And just nothing being refilmed, everything going like, that take will do.
It was the 70s, you know. There was really a strike on or something.
Roger flying the plane, and there's a fly-in shot that's really irritating, and they didn't think to redo that. All that sort of thing.
No, it's obviously not Rog.
No, it's not Roger's fault. All right. Not at all.
Bless your little heart.
Dear.
There's always something funny where, like, you know, Austin brutally sort of throws Mini-Me on something.
Yeah. Oh, that is very, very funny. There's one in particular.
Next film is fucking hilarious for that.
Oh, I'm trying to think of the throw in particular. I can't remember which film it's in. There is a specific throw I'm thinking of. He's just spat in his face now.
Yeah.
That throw, that is one of them. That is...
Because you're trying to explain why it's funny, and it sounds like you're trying to rationalise it in your head. It's like, this shouldn't be funny, but it just is.
It shouldn't be funny. He's beating up on a little person, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was funny. Him swinging his nuts and banging the back of his head. Vern Troyer wasn't much of an age when he passed.
No. Poor little bugger.
Yeah, I feel a bit for Ventura in this film, definitely.
Watching this again, albeit without sound, but I've got the subtitles on, I think I'm pretty confident this is not as strong as the first film.
No, but I think it's
the funniest, I think, of the two. I would agree with Chris.
It's got the stronger gags.
It has. And you mentioned some of the outtakes as well. I think there's such a shame that a lot of them fell on the cutting room floor. There's a lot of really funny.
It's really worth watching them because there's some really good ones that
I don't think there's masses in it, but I think, and this is almost a redundant criticism to throw at a comedy, but it's actually slightly more uneven. There's been spells of this film where I'm just going, this is actually spinning its wheels a little bit.
They really do sort of play it up for laughs as well. But I think where like a lot of the catchphrases and everything were sort of planted in the first film, I think they're really cemented here as well. It kind of really helped put them into the public consciousness. For example, I just noticed like a lot of the lines that I'm sort of like quoting, like myself and my friend who were really into these films at the time, like came from this film. Like, you know, sort of a lot of the humour that we had like between ourselves, and like for me it's. Obviously, the first one is an absolute classic for sure. Much beloved Bond parody, but this one kind of goes like beyond Bond, I guess. And for me, it's the funnier of the two films for sure. I know there is a lot of off-colour humour and certain characters who are very questionable, but yeah, still lots of laughs. But very very 90s. Like if you grew up in the 90s and certainly enjoyed these movies, then I don't know. You might think, no, this is a load of shit. Now you might hate it, but alternatively, you may love it.
He needs to go back in time.
Oh yeah, I think the next movie has it sounds stupid to say, but it's like plotting issues. You know, when Michael Caine just like shows up randomly at the end. It's like, well, what are you doing?
Oh yeah,
the entire rest of the movie then?
There's more of a...
Yeah, where's he been all that time?
I don't know if I'm even using the term appropriately, but there's more of a vaudeville feel to the third film. It's like, let's put on a show.
Yeah.
You know, it is more skit-like. They've got this... They keep going back to the sort of International Spy Academy or whatever it's called, and all of those bits are funny. But it's kind of like a disjointed reason. It's kind of disjointed from the rest of the film. And then you've got like Michael Caine as a young man, which is obviously a scene from another film of his, but that's all a bit disjointed. And then they've loosely strung it together, and it does strike me much more like that Ron Burgundy filmmaking. I mean, they went and shot Ron Burgundy, and they got a whole second film out of it, which didn't all make sense. It really played up the sort of champ kind being in love with Ron angle you get in the second film. But they got a plot. They got a whole different plot. And jokes aside, Ron Burgundy does have a plot, and so does Wake Up Ron Burgundy. And I think it's the same with the third Autin Powers film. It's almost like they just shot a shitload of God knows what, and they might have been able to cut it together any number of different ways.
No, I'd probably say like the third film is the weakest of the lot. But I think Michael Caine's really great, and you've got some good gags, definitely.
It's got that opening sequence which is brilliant. The Michael Caine stuff is funny, and it's
kind of more the same. I think
his number plate is GR8 Shag, Great Shag, which is funny because he drives a little Mini just like in the Italian Job. I must say I really like the third one, but
he's kind of playing very much on like a 60s kind of sex symbol, wasn't he? Again, sort of Italian Job and that sort of thing. I mean, what film did Mike Myers do after this? Was it like Love Guru or one of those? It's kind of after this kind of film, it started to go a bit downhill a little bit, didn't it, for him?
I don't know.
He sort of made some questionable movies.
Apart from a small role in Inglourious Bastards and The Love Guru, I can't remember what else he's done.
No, I just try to think because it's kind of I think it kind of reached a peak with this, and then obviously he did the third film, and then it was kind of on, will he do another Autin Powers film? Will he do the Wayne's World sequel, for example?
We're still talking about another Autin Powers film as recently as about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's rumbled, hasn't it?
I don't think you should do it. I think time's been gone now.
Yeah. Just quit while he's still ahead.
He is filming...
So go on.
Sorry, go on. No, you carry on.
I was just going to say, I think probably even after Vern Troy's passed away, but even watching the Goldmember, there's something about it just feels like the last one. I don't think it'd work if you follow it up.
No. Right, so running through, I'm not going to read everything because some of these films have disappeared from public consciousness, although I remember them, like View from the Top, which is a truly shit Gwyneth Paltrow film. But obviously he was in The Cat in the Hat, which got terrible reviews. He was in the Shrek films, we know about that.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Love Guru, I mentioned Inglourious Bastards. Various Shrek properties. He was that sort of weird composite character in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh yeah, no,
record label exec looked nothing like him.
I thought that was Stephen Graham.
No, it was him.
Yeah, but I always watched that thinking it was Stephen Graham.
He's currently working with David O. Russell.
Oh, that'd be interesting. But he pops up in his kind of like these sort of character roles rather than like the lead, you know.
He's working on a Netflix TV series.
Ooh.
It's just called Untitled Mike Myers Netflix Project.
Sounds exciting.
And the only other thing you see is Autin Powers forward. It says announced, but then it just says rumoured, so I don't know.
We shall see. Yeah, I totally forgot he was in Shrek. Sorry about that. Just skip that.
Well, I know it sounds obvious, but you don't see him on the screen. So when you try and think of actors in things, you're trying to picture them in stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, I was just trying to think, he was voice actor in Shrek. Which I also enjoyed, but again, like the second, the first two were really great. The third one...
If you knock Shrek out of it, and Inglourious Bastards, because he's a small part in that, it's not his vehicle.
No, it's one of those films.
His last big headlining thing with his face in shot, if you like. I'm not trying to do down animation here, but You could do.
We'll do them on the show at some
You could
point.
do animation forever and not be.
I'm determined to get some kind of
known.
animated film on the show.
Definitely. But yeah, I mean the last sort of headline thing he really did was The Love Guru.
Because I know that wasn't very particularly well received. I didn't see that one.
I can't remember enough about it now to tell you what was wrong with it. All I can remember is that when I watched it, I was almost open-mouthed at how bad it was. But if you say to me why, I can't say anything more than it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got the girl.
Hurrah.
This is quite romantic. Fat bastard.
FBD. Fat
That's
bastard
quite clever.
delivery.
That's a
Bastard
little
department.
feature,
I've never seen that before.
Fat bastard delivery.
Division. Delivery department division, whatever. Yeah. Once you've had fat, you never go back. I can attest that is not the case.
Oh. Oh dear.
I'm rich and I'm dead sexy.
Well, you are William Shatner after all. In that iconic pose.
Me, I'm not that pose anymore. My picture's changed.
I know, but you were for a long time.
I was.
I know you've got yourself now.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my Skype picture for years. William Shatner looking very pleased with himself in Star Trek: The Original Series.
Looking very
It
curty.
is very handsome.
Yeah.
Just a swift kick in the balls, and that's fine. We'll just leave him there. We're not even going to sort of like, you know, dispose of the gun.
all the cameos at the end.
He hasn't done the kick yet. He's still talking.
Oh my god. Oh dear.
I think he farts. Yeah, I'm at the fart.
Really pure humour.
Yeah, he even has to announce he's
Like,
farted.
who are these people?
Pardon.
Oh, sorry, I'm a bit ahead of you now.
You are a bit ahead. Who am I kidding? He's about to shoot them, and obviously there'll be a kick in the balls, and that'll be that. Or judo chop and a kick in the balls.
Judo chop.
Right in the mummy daddy button. The makeup for Fat Bastard, even though that is recognisably Mike Myers, it must have taken hours because the eyes are...
Yeah, oh my gosh, all the layers.
Yeah.
That's quite amazing though to be able to do those sort of scenes because you've got like the makeup and the costume as well, and you're under sort of really hot set for lights and all that.
There was that silly joke in the third one with Michael Caine where he complains he's got a stiff neck because he swallowed a Viagra gun that was stuck in his throat.
That's quite funny.
And then he shut
Yeah, I
on
think
a
he
third.
just-
Touches the button, and this is the party. The Bangles.
Sadly, I've made it to the credits, and the makeup was actually done by Stan Winston, legendary Stan Winston. So, how about that?
Yeah, Stan Winston. I'm trying to think when Stan Winston died. I think he died just before Iron Man was released, but he worked on Iron Man.
Yeah.
So I think he might have died something like late 2007.
Yeah, it was around that time, wasn't it? I think.
And I almost feel like it's not our job to educate anybody, but at the same time, it's one of those names that I'm always pleased when we can put it out there again, because you do worry that film fans will come along now and just not know the name.
No,
and obviously film making people up, creature creation, and everything has changed over time.
Yeah, so that's such a big
Winston
part of
was an
filmmaking, though, isn't it? I think
he's virtually completely responsible for the look of the T800, the T800,
Exactly.
Terminator.
But I think if you do love film, or if you're like a film student or just a cineast, for example.
Hey, that guy
just
shouted nuts. Sorry, he was in Friends years ago, but the woman next to him was Jennifer Coolidge, Stifler's mom.
Yes, that was it. I was trying to think, who is that woman? But she was also in Legally Blonde.
Yeah.
And
I
there's
think that's
Jeff
where I know her
from Curb as
I
well.
think that's the Unbreakable. I think serving Woody Harrelson, isn't that the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt,
Yes.
who's in the press for all the wrong reasons in the last day or two?
No, I don't think that is actually her. That's someone else.
She was also, wasn't she in like The Office for years and years and years?
Not sure. I never watched The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I've just seen her all over adverts in the papers these days. Not literally papers, online, but yeah.
Let's have a look at the credits.
Now they're laughing. Hey, Vaughn Troyer's laugh's quite impressive. The end. Right. Now we're into credits, so...
Did you spot Jeff from Curb?
What, Jeff Garlin?
Yeah.
No.
The one-eyed monster.
All the cameos.
Was that Jeff Garlin?
Yeah.
You obviously can't tell because he's got one eye, eye.
Yeah. Oh, I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. I think it's past its absolute best now, but it
is it still going?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're making a new series now.
Oh, God.
But of course, Funkhauser's dead, isn't he?
Well, yeah.
I didn't even realise Funkhauser, the actor, was Albert Brooks's brother. I didn't even know that. But yeah, it's past its absolute best. I liked it more when he was actually married to Cheryl. Ted Danson never falls off any chairs in it either.
No.
Which is disappointing.
We're still holding out.
I still think it's a really good show. I still think it's roughly of a similar standards. But when I think back and think, which are the bits of Curb Your Enthusiasm I liked most? It would probably be the third and fourth series. I like season 3 where he was like brought into a restaurant, and if
she was in that film, it would have been uncredited.
Yeah, season 4, he got a role in The Producers on Broadway, and that was really good too. I did like, I think it was season 7 where he did the sort of Seinfeld reunion. That was good. And since then, it's had lots of good bits to it and bits I like. What's going on? Oh no.
The Black Swan episode, I think, will always be one of my favourites.
Who's she in bed with? Oh, it's himself. Yeah, she is in bed with Austin.
That was a long time ago.
Technically, it's not cheating. Well, Felicity, I can't blame you. So this
actually, it is.
He's got his mojo back, and his teeth are all right as well now. and that Austin version isn't. They've made them up differently. Oh, well.
He's finally been to the NHS dentist.
NHS dentist. You can get into them by 2024, apparently.
Yes. Oh dear, I love it so much. I'm very grateful for mine. It's okay. Because in England, we all have bad teeth.
Apparently.
The Book of British Teeth.
Yeah. Book of British Smiles.
Great Book of British Teeth.
Do you floss,
That's like
Lisa?
one of my favourite episodes.
Yes. Why you've turned my
into a house of lies.
Yes.
That's my favourite episode ever. Oh my god, it's so funny. Oh my gosh. That's like one of the best film parodies they've ever done throughout their whole entire run. Just brilliant.
Although the single bit I laughed at most in The Simpsons ever, as in the funniest little 3-second gag, was where they left Apu and Manjula having a row, and they're driving along the street, and the car is fucking swerving all over the place, and it's because Homer's trying to drive and read the Kama Sutra at the same time. And she says, if you're going to read that, let me drive. And he pulls over, just gets out the car, and without a word, and walks straight round to the passenger seat, gets in, she drives off, and then you just hear him go, hey, they stole our idea.
It's so clever. Oh god.
I was there's a track on the soundtrack here that was the Propeller Heads. Just off the point, cue the music, where they played Pitt's Gloria, site of On Her Majesty's Secret Service 2 years ago for the 50th anniversary of that film. Becca went to it, and if you go back far enough on our website, she did some little videos and bits to camera there. But Cue the Music on YouTube have now released the entire concert they did from Inside Pitt's Gloria. And it's a spoiler alert for the concert, but it's a spoiler alert to kind of encourage you to watch it, so I don't feel too bad for doing this. But they finish with a complete recreation of the Propellerheads version of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I promise
It's
you,
amazing. It's the first time they've done it as well, and it
it's
just blows out the water.
It's note perfect.
It's fantastic.
There's some slight differences in acoustic than if you were listening to the recorded version at home, but it's basically note perfect. And when it finishes, he doesn't say anything on the night, but Warren has said to me since it's the hardest thing he's ever done.
Yeah, it's so difficult, and I think even, oh my god, who is it? The composer said they were actually crazy for doing it. David Idle was like, it's fantastic, but they're crazy for doing it.
Well,
but, yeah.
it would have been pieced together in a studio over a period of time, not just performed live like that. And
it's the most technical thing they've ever done. So
you can hear it's technical. Basically, if you want, just go and look up David Arnold, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, The Propellerheads, and play that song, and then go and listen to Cue the Music. Absolutely recreate it perfectly, and they play obviously all of the songs from most of the songs from most of the films. But they also do a suite of music from the film. I think they kick off the second half with a whole suite of music from On Her Majesty's
They do. I think, yeah, their Majesty's concert is now open for all, so you can go and check it out on the YouTube channel.
You genuinely be listening to the soundtrack in places.
It's incredible. It really is. I kind of rate it highly enough.
Obviously, where it's a song like License to Kill and Kerry's singing, well, Kerry's not a mimic. She doesn't sound like Gladys Knight, so you can tell the difference. But when they're doing, and I'm not saying that's good or bad, by the way, but when they're doing just instrumental work, it's indistinguishable a lot of the time. So I just wanted to promote that because I watched it on Monday night. Was it Monday night?
They released it. They put it on general release.
Cue the Music on YouTube. Really good.
Check them out. Give them a follow. They've got 2 concerts coming up towards the end of the year. If you can go and see them, go and check them out live. Seriously, buy all their CDs, watch their videos, go see their concerts. Just try to consume as much of the music as you can. It is fantastic. Your life will be richer for it.
Well, I wouldn't have gone that far, but
well, I will.
But
I really rate them highly. I think
obviously it would have been a different experience for Becca because she was there. But I saw it when they streamed it a while back. But they streamed it, and that was it. They streamed it, and you watched it live, or that was it. Not live, but when they did a live stream, if you like. But now it's on sort of general release, and it is recommended because a hell of a lot of you listening to us are Bond fans.
We had during the show. I remember, slight spoiler alert there. They had. Obviously a note from George Lazenby to say, they're amazing, he did John Barry proud, and then Stephen Saltzman was in the audience, and he came up like partway through and said, like, you did my dad proud. So it's like a phrase from George Lazenby, James Bond himself, and Stephen Saltzman.
Well, I mean, if you've ever listened to James Bond radio, they're both in the audience, and you'll spot them. Brian Dobson, who's now presents James Bond radio, I haven't heard them for a little while, but he's there. Becca was obviously in the audience, although I don't remember seeing her on camera.
No, I'd escaped by that point. I was like, this is my bedtime. I gotta go.
I figured she'd stay out of the way. But you will recognise, if you've seen something like Everything or Nothing, I'm pretty sure Stephen Saltzman was interviewed on that. So there'll be people you recognise. And so, yeah. Didn't mean to turn it into a promotion for that, but I was just thinking about it because the Propellerheads track came up. That on its own is worth the price of admission, because you can hear bits and pieces of Cue the Music elsewhere on their site, but they'll never do that again, I don't think.
No, it was very much once in a lifetime thing, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay, folks. As for social media, you can catch me at the Pasty Kid 1976 on Twitter.
You can find me on Cinematronics. You can also find all the old episodes on Cinematronics.co.uk. Sorry it's been a while, but we'll pick things up.
But we are back together. Yeah, sorry for the slight delay. Yeah. We are now here.
We'll
you can find us on Twitter.
We'll sort out your refunds immediately, because
Yeah.
Because you paid fuck all, is Chris's point.
Because it's free.
But if you want to send us some money, we'll send most of it back.
Yes, it'll be shipping charges and and tax.
Booking fee.
We'll send you your penny change.
Yeah.
If you want to follow us, we are on Twitter at Expect Us to Talk. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, Podbay, wherever you like to listen to us.
Okay, so to round off now one of our longest running series.
Oh gosh.
with the third instalment, what's coming next?
Do you expect us to talk with we'll return with our next Reviewmentary episode, Autin Powers and Goldmember?